Hello, I am Rapid Kebab of OKSoft and welcome to the very first episode of DevDoc. Here we'll be covering game development from a developer's perspective, taking a look at interesting and crucial parts of games, from the economics to the tech to the design. For our first episode, I wanted to cover the process of getting a game made, because this gets asked way too often and anyone who has the answers doesn't want to go over it. Because probably they've gone over it too many times for randoms who have asked on the internet already. I've geared this guide in a way that it's useful to anyone from absolute beginners to seasoned devs looking for insight into different people's processes. And resources, of course. Do keep in mind though,
I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
okay, obligatory Matrix references aside, nothing here will be engine specific, but I'll be using Unity based examples because it's what I use and it's also really common. I am sure you can find your own equivalent resources for every relatively common engine. This isn't like black magic I'm conducting here. Anyways, step 0, because this should happen before you make your first original game, you'll need to do a couple of tutorials. To acquire the know-how and skill required to construct your own game, you need to have some previous experience, ideally at least, and tutorials help you build that. Pick tutorials as recent, official, and as easy as possible. For Unity in particular, there are comprehensive and well-done tutorials on their website, which I heavily recommend. YouTubers are always another option, and some of them can be amazing, so if you like how someone teaches and the videos aren't outdated, their beginner's tutorials will do the job. Step 1. The idea. Look at what you're capable of right now, after having done the tutorials of course, and plan out a game that falls fully inside your comfort zone. Can't do 3D? Don't make a 3D game. Not yet. You ideally want it to also be completable in 2 weeks maximum. You are no longer replicating someone else's footsteps, you're carving your own path. The help you do get from resources will only cover little bits of the journey. Even if you take my advice and play it entirely safe, chances are you will run into unforeseen complications that teach you more and develop you. With every game, you can afford to scope it a little larger than your comfort zone, but for your first, please play it safe. Step 2 is resources, and this is the most important step in my opinion at the very least. I will be dividing resources into two categories. First of all, we've got direct resources and then we've got indirect resources. Direct resources are explicit teaching, answering how questions. These are mostly related to tech and execution. Indirect resources, on the other hand, are more abstract, giving you answers to the what questions. Usually you will determine what you want to do from an indirect resource, then use a direct one to figure out how to do it. Anyways, so on indirect resources, they can be anything that inspires or guides you. Video essays from channels like GDC, 2 Clicks Flip, Mark Brown, Adam Millard, myself, and countless more channels are some of my favorites as they are usually direct food for thought on games. Playing games related to what you're making is absolutely understated as well. Generally, you want to have experienced as many of the greats as possible to have an intrinsic understanding of what makes a game good, even if you can't explain it. Of course, this sort of media that inspires and guides you doesn't have to be games, it can be movies, it can be making a piece of toast. It depends, but when you're looking for when you're looking directly for indirect resources, you probably will end up in this sort of, games media. Anyways, for direct resources, I take a 3-level approach based on time investment and specificity. That's a word and a half. Anyways, the lower the level, the more generic but adaptable and quick your solution is. Depending on your previous experience and your competence, you will choose a different level. Ideally, you want to be as low as possible while still achieving your goal. Anyways, the lowest level is documentation. Whatever tools you're using probably have an unholy amount of written documentation that will often give you what you need to know to achieve your goal. The Unity docs absolutely save me on a day-to-day basis despite me having a programming background. The second level is answer sites. If you can't bend the scripting API and documentation to your will, chances are someone else has already struggled with it, asked about it on some online forum and gotten an answer. Don't waste people's time by failing to Google the stuff you need and getting it online, right? Like, no one wants to answer the same question that's been answered 1,000 times. That's why I'm making this guide anyways. So yeah, and the last level is YouTube tutorials. If the answers are hard to understand, janky, outdated, incomplete, there is always someone on YouTube, usually Indian, who has made an in-depth tutorial on how to do that one thing. These are often more detailed but more time consuming than if you figure it out yourself and whip together a solution. Another plus is that there may be less jank thanks to this, but there may also be more jank depending on how good you are and how good the tutorial is. Anyways, and step 3 is usually overlooked when people are making their first couple games. Completion. Tutorials, optimization, bug fixing, menus, general polish, etc. are indispensable parts of a released game, if you aren't Bethesda. These are usually boring and tedious steps that only get worse as the main game's complexity increases, so you might as well learn how to do them early while they're easy. Also, if you do take your extra 1 or 2 days to do these for your prototypes, you make them much more complete and presentable, and you can release them to the public on places like itch.io, and possibly get yourself that sweet attention we all somewhat crave. So, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share this, and keep it in mind for the next time some very beginner asks you, how do I do this stuff? Thank you. Once more, I'm out.